What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of FlexRx Live. We're going to get into some Q&A and we're going to get things started with today's topic. And this one is kind of a fun topic that I'm excited to get into because if you guys know, I'm in this journey in my life of, pursuing the side quest. And today is the first official side quest that I'm going on, which is running. And a lot of people, have been, I think it's kind of cliche where people are like, a lot of people have been asking, or a lot of you have been asking, but legitimately on the Q&As I post on Instagram, I've gotten this question 4 times. And so today's topic is, Kevin, are you scared of losing muscle while running? Or how am I planning to avoid muscle loss as I prep for my first marathon, 3 obstacle courses, and trying to get a pretty fast time? So we're going to get into that. I got 8 ways that I'm going to be battling the muscle loss component. Because if you look and the reason why a lot of people fear muscle loss, and it's been a thing for a long time in terms of running, like me coming up in the game has been running is bad because it's high impact and, you don't see any high level bodybuilders running and getting super jacked. They're doing low intensity stuff on the incline walking or on the bike because it was kind of hypothesized that the pounding on the joints is not good for gaining muscle. But if we look at, this is probably genetic outliers, but if we look at the highest level football players, they're really jacked. They're really fast. They can move. They're mobile. High level wrestlers, athletes, they're often trained for a high VO2 max, high kind of heart health kind of scoring. And they're able to still hold a lot of muscle mass. So I'm going to tell you guys how I plan, being a professional natural bodybuilder who doesn't want to lose muscle. I'm going to tell you guys kind of my plan in how I'm going to try to not lose muscle mass. And shout out to Greg. Thank you for the donation. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate you nevertheless. Now let's get into today's topic. So we got 8 ways. So avoiding muscle loss while running. And so we're going to get into number 1, the most important thing that I am implementing to avoid muscle loss while running, while I do this training for a marathon. Number 1 is going to be tackling the belief. And I feel a lot of people, and I am somebody, if you don't know, I'm a doctor of pharmacy. I have my doctorate from Rutgers University, 2018. So Dr. Hejnas coming at you. But knowing that that's pharmacy school, we even know how powerful the placebo effect is. You tell somebody that they're going to take this sugar pill and see X effect, people will just believe themselves into seeing that effect. And there's countless kind of examples of this happening. And that's why we have to control and you have to give people, controls of this is a sugar pill. They don't know. And this is the actual, ingredient or thing that's going to have a certain effect. They have to compare them. And typically with the sugar pill, if they say that it's the medication to be tested, some people say that, I feel so much better on this. And it's a sugar pill, but they didn't know. So this is how important the mind and your beliefs are. I'm not a hooey kind of guy, but I just know, and I've known a lot of people that have gotten involved in training, that have done bodybuilding, that get kind of neurotic. And this neuroticism often holds you back from making gains because a lot of people think that if I do anything besides lift weights, go home, eat food, sit on the couch, and recover, I'm not going to make optimal gains. But that's not the case because to make best gains, can we agree? You probably have to be healthy. Yes? Okay. Is an hour and a half of, pushing some weights in the gym, getting your heart rate up, maybe, for 16 sets, you think that's enough for long-term health, mobility, etc., and optimal heart health? Probably not. Maybe getting some steps in during the day is going to be good. Maybe mobilizing our hips a little bit. Maybe getting some blood flow to the knees, moving in different planes of motion, running with the kids. That's going to probably be so health promoting that it helps you perform better in the gym. If your cardiovascular system is in a good spot. But a lot of people think that I can't do anything. I can't go play Frisbee. I cannot go for a walk because I should be sitting at home recovering because I want to gain muscle. But I'm going to tell you right now that your baseline health in the other 22 hours a day, that's something that's going to help potentiate your ability to recover. A healthier individual with a better VO2 max able to get better blood flow at rest, moves, gets blood into the joints and ligaments because they don't get much blood at rest. Getting that more often is probably going to help you recover even better than if you're just sitting on the couch the rest of the day playing, Pokemon. And I got nothing wrong with Pokemon. But the reason why I bring this up is like the whole placebo effect is because people will just believe themselves into, I cannot gain muscle if I run. Or more so is I will lose muscle if I start running. Or we can use this too if I start losing weight. If I, eat less carbs. If I have one bad night sleeping. And I could go on with these like kind of placebo things. Like if you get 5 hours versus 8 hours of sleep, are you likely going to have maybe less strength? It's possible, but I've also had some tremendous workouts where I felt great after 5 hours of sleep. I'm like, darn, like I wish my recovery was a little bit better. I won't look at my Whoop score until after the workout. I'm like, oh, actually, I could push weight. I was actually strong in the gym. I was good. And if I kind of like looked at the Whoop score, it says like, oh, you're 5% recovered today. Going to the gym, oh, because Whoop says I'm 5% recovered. Going to have a crappy session. No, like don't allow yourself to be weak mentally. And I mean that the way that I'm saying it is when you allow yourself to be placeboed into negative outcomes. So our beliefs, I would more kind of have these positive beliefs, maybe call me crazy sometimes, but these positive beliefs of, all right, I lost 10 pounds, but there's no reason that I should lose much strength. I can still make strength gains if I lost 10 pounds. Maybe pressing strength is likely to go down, but because it's kind of mass equated, but you're still not losing muscle because maybe that difference in mass, but you could still get stronger in the course of losing 10 pounds. If you're going from 30% body fat to 25% body fat, you're not getting to the nitty gritty where you're like for sure going to lose, muscle mass. We've seen over 1,000+ people in my coaching program, Healthy Flex Prescription, shameless plug, where they've lost plenty of body fat, maybe 20 to 25 pounds of body fat, while gaining muscle along the way because they got stronger. They got so much stronger that they overrode the decrease in their body mass, negatively impacting the amount of weight they could push. So they for sure gained muscle. So that being said, it's like don't placebo yourself or make the belief in your mind that, okay, because I lost some weight, I have to lose muscle. Because I'm a little bit low on my carbs yesterday, I have to have a crappy session. Because my sleep was an hour short, I'm going to have a crappy session. Go do the work and then kind of, have that belief that you're going to be, what is that called? Able to do audibles, able to get by with less. But optimizing over the long term is going to have the tendency to, potentiate better returns. But I mean, I've seen it countless times where like I've had crappy nights of sleeping and I've had great training sessions. So I start this all off and got on a big tangent because the belief is so important. So with that belief too, if I say like, okay, I'm going to start running, a lot of people are like, oh, you're for sure going to lose muscle. Oh, because you're running, you have to lose muscle. You don't have to lose muscle. I'm not running a marathon on my arms, with my shoulders, with my biceps. So they're going to take less of the pounding. So I can probably make some good gains on the arms, maybe hit some extra bicep curls. Maybe those could grow, but probably the amount of volume and the stimulus for the legs, that's going to get more tough. But also, it's like a bodybuilding prep. If you have to get to 5% body fat, you're going to feel like crap at 5% body fat. Your performance suffers at 5% body fat. Your testosterone for sure is down. But if you're starting at 20% body fat, don't start acting like you're 5% body fat and have all these negatives. You're not there yet. If I go from 20% to 15%, we're not in the danger zone. We're not in a bad spot. We actually probably improved our overall health by going 20% body fat to 15% body fat. Until you get to the point where you're in that lower stage of the game, like those negatives don't really show up. So if you're believing yourself to get these negatives at 15% body fat, oh, I lost 10 pounds. So of course, my testosterone must be down. I must be like super weak, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, no, like you're not there yet. And how this relates to marathon prep is I'm not running 50 miles a week yet. I'm still a novice. I mean, granted, like when I was doing 10 to 20 miles per week, that's not that much. When I'm going into 30 miles per week, That's more. So that's going to be tougher to recover from. But I'm not at those 50, 60-mile weeks where like that is going to be, at the top of the game, the highest amount of stimulus. So my kind of point here is the self-belief. And I want to make this first because I just feel like so many people like, oh, I can't train more than 4 times if I'm going to run twice a week. I'm like, bro, CrossFitters, like they train 3 times a day and they literally are the not healthiest, but the fittest people. I will agree with that. I haven't done CrossFit. I've made jokes about CrossFit, but like, dude, they can run fast. They're jacked. They're killing it. And they just throw a ton of volume in and they get it done. And the work works on them. So that's kind of the first piece, the belief. And then other pieces I put in this in my notes, 90% of people placebo themselves into crappy results. Because if you believe, okay, I can gain muscle as I get faster, you're going to be better off than saying like, oh, I just got to, control how much muscle I lose because I'm definitely going to get weaker. Like, come on, use your beliefs to your advantage. 3, I can get fast. So the belief is I can get pretty fast, but maybe not, 2.5-hour marathons or 3-hour marathons. So that's like tip top. That's like your top 1% of marathoners and runners. So where you're elite, you have to be pretty specifically adapted for a certain thing. And so for me to get to that highest level, I'd have to probably make some trade-offs. I'd probably have to, lose 10, 20 pounds of muscle. Like that would probably benefit me to not be dragging that. But to get to a respectable speed, maybe 3.5, 4 hours, it's doable with the amount of muscle I have. And I think even I've seen people, just as muscular break 3 hours. But if you look at the elite, like who's going to be breaking records, it's probably not somebody who's going to be looking like a bodybuilder running marathons. It's going to be someone who looks like a marathoner doing the thing that their body's kind of adapted for. But you can be kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, I guess. But you can get pretty darn good. It means I believe you can get, so jack of all trades, master of none, that means like, oh, I'll get to the 50th percentile in so many things. No, I believe you can get to the 90th percentile. I'd say 90th. I feel comfortable in a lot of things by just being fit, strong, and getting the skill. And that's the purpose of the side quest. So I believe you can do both, unless you have to hyper adapt. If I was 5% body fat for a bodybuilding show, I'm going to be weak. I'm not going to be fast. I'm not going to be athletic, but I'm going to win the bodybuilding show. If I'm doing a marathon, the day of the marathon, I want to be the fastest that I can be and the best adapted there. I'm hyper adapted to the marathon running. I'm not my strongest. I'm not my most aesthetic probably, but I'm built for that day. And then if I'm ready for a powerlifting meet, I'm probably not going to be my most aesthetic. My biceps may not be the biggest. I probably won't be the fastest or most mobile I'll ever be that day, but I'm specifically adapted to do the job of powerlifting. And so when you do these things, you're kind of adapting for that day. So as I get closer to the marathon, when I'm most hyper adapted, there may be some muscle loss. Okay, going into point number 2, because I just feel it's so important to speak about beliefs and how they can work for you, how they can work against you. Number 2, how I'm going to avoid muscle loss while running. Don't lose strength. So my driving purpose in the gym is to not lose strength. If I do not lose strength, it's very unlikely that I'm going to lose muscle. And so what that looks like is going to have consistent exercises there that I can kind of gauge, okay, like once I finish this cutting phase, if my strength is really dipping, it's likely that I'm probably, losing a little bit of muscle mass. But if I can fight for that strength, if I can even see that strength go up, it's very likely. It's hard to have stronger muscles that are smaller because the cross-sectional area of your muscles is what moves the weight. So it's hard to not build muscle if you're stronger. It's just hard to do. So by making that the focus, that puts me in the best position to gain muscle as I get faster, as I do this marathon training. That's the drive, but also it depends on sometimes PRs just are not coming in. It'd be like that sometimes. But fighting to retain that strength, fighting to get into that best position, that's going to be important. Number 3 is intensity. So controlling the intensity. The cool thing that I've learned about running, so running is a lot of, 50 to 70% effort. And not much, 90 to 100% effort. Very interesting to me. like learning about how to properly train for running, it's a lot of submaximal work and just putting time on the road. So what I mean by this is, if I can run, let's say, a 6-minute mile, I wonder if I could right now, but if I could run a 6-minute mile, a lot of the training miles that I'm going to stack up, like that's like I am on the floor after that mile is done. I just went, 100% all my effort. I left it out there. I'm going to be like, catching my breath after and I'm heaving. But the way that, training for a marathon or a lot of like, running training goes is it's a lot of like 70% run. So if I can do a 6-minute, I probably would do like a 9-minute training, mile and just stack up a lot of those miles and build that quote unquote engine. Those don't have to be too hyper, fatiguing because you're managing that intensity. Kind of like how in training, in lifting weights, there's a qualifying intensity you have to hit to build muscle. So I can't really stack like a bunch of 50% effort sets of bicep curls and expect my biceps to get bigger. I need to get very close to failure. So I need like 90% efforts. I need to be like 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 reps from true failure. True failure. A lot of people think that they're like 2 reps from failure and they're like 6 reps from failure. So that's a whole nother story. But if you want to build that muscle, there's a qualifying criteria there. If you want to build speed and aerobic capacity, you kind of have to control yourself in that more of that 50 to 70, 80% range. Maybe one time a week you do maybe an interval training, and maybe that's where you push your pace, push your limits. But predominantly it's stacking up a lot of that. So by me doing a lot of these submaximal efforts, it's less fatiguing, less energy cost. And so that's going to be like a big piece there over the long term. So that's going to make it more feasible to recover from by managing intensity. If I were just redlining miles every other week or literally every session, redlining every time, that would put me probably at more potential for injuries. Kind of like if you were doing 1-rep maxes all the time in your, let's say, your powerlifting training. Even as powerlifters where you have to run a 1-rep max, or you have to do a 1-rep max, you train 3s, you train 5s. Far out from competition, you're doing 8s, you're doing 10s. So managing intensity or managing load is very important. Number 4, it's not too complicated. Get your protein in. I'm going to get my protein in. So I'm going 1 gram per pound, if not a little bit more. I shoot for like 250 grams. I'm about like 215, 220 right now in the mornings, but I'm getting enough protein in to make sure I'm in the best place to retain muscle, if not gain some muscle. So I'm getting in enough protein, and that's just got to be a constant. If you want to be a good athlete, no matter what you do, get enough protein because probably the skill that you're doing is going to break down some muscle mass. You're going to want the supportive structures to be built up as well, those joints, those ligaments. So getting enough protein is always a good idea. 1 gram per pound, ideal body weight. Is probably a good spot to be at, and you'll be solid there. So the next one is going to be number 5. Number 5, it's calories. It's all about protein. Calories matter too. And so what I'm doing with the calorie piece is I'm finishing up. So finish this cutting phase. So I have gone down from about 230 pounds. I am now getting close. I'm like 215.5 in the mornings. So I just want to get consistently, maybe a couple of days, 215 or under, and then I'll start bringing my calories up. But it's kind of funny too. Like, don't eat in an extreme calorie deficit. Don't be in so much of a calorie deficit where, it's going to sacrifice, your recovery. And so I would say, like, even though I am like in a fat loss phase, I'm losing at a reasonable rate. So ROL is rate of loss. So I'm losing, like, it's slowed down, but 1 to 2 pounds per week is probably fine. If you have a lot of athletic endeavors going on, and you're really trying to optimize performance, losing 3+ pounds per week, depending how much body fat you have, that could make it tough to retain muscle or perform well. A lot of people, a lot of our clients in HFP, they'll come in, we'll lose 3, even 4 pounds per week to start. But oftentimes we're going to be in that 20 to 35% body fat to start. So we can push the pace a little bit because we have plentiful body fat. But when you're when you're in a leaner position, like, that's where your body is more preserving of body fat. So it will actually use muscle as a resource to kind of give off. And so I wouldn't recommend to be too aggressive if you're relatively lean, doing a lot of activities. I'd probably be closer to maintenance or like a little surplus. So once this is done, I'm going to be at maintenance or slight surplus calories. I think I'll be in a slight surplus. I don't know, because I'll be like 12, 14 weeks out, I think, for my marathon. And I was wondering if I want to be 210 and like a little bit lighter for it. I'd be pretty darn lean. But I think 215 is a good fighting weight for this, where I can eat well, feel good, and I'll probably like allow myself to, work up a little bit. Number 6 is going to be underrated. It's sleep. So getting 7+ hours per night. So this is going to be, good for recovery. This reduces injuries. That's probably going to be one of the biggest ones. It's coming up as another one. So injuries is huge. They did research, and I think it was soccer players, and the people that got 9+ hours of sleep versus like the 5 or 6 hours per night. There's a significant decrease in injuries. I want to say it was like 2x. Like the people with like 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night were getting twice as many injuries as like the 9 hours plus. So it's very important for your joint recovery, your muscle recovery, your tendons to get that sleep. It can really heavily decrease your injury risk. And so that's where it's going to be very important. So for me too, doing double sessions, doing all this training, sleep is going to be even more important because I have just so much more exposure. People don't think about like just pure exposure times. It's like, is running highly likely to injure you? If you run like once or twice a week, probably not. But if you're running 5 times a week, there's just a lot of exposure. If you're training 5 times a week, there's a lot of exposure. Lifting weights has a low incidence of injury, but like when you have 10 years of 5 times a week, etc., you're going to get nicks and knacks. So it's very important to just stack the odds in your favor and really put yourself in a position so you don't have to work so that you're in a better position to decrease injury risk. Because I was going to say you don't have to worry about it, but look, hey, I'm always worried about it. I don't want to rip an Achilles or something. That wouldn't be fun. But that's also, I'm going to just talk about that one next then. So injuries, so stay injury free. And this also comes to taper volume up slowly. Don't just go out and your first run 5 miles at 100% intensity. So this is where your intensity, your volume, these things play up. So taper up your volume slowly. For me, I didn't go straight to 30-mile weeks. I'm working them up slowly. I have an 11-mile run due this weekend. And I've worked up from like those long runs started at like 6, then 7, then 8. And I had already done like a 6-mile run. My smaller runs worked up from like, I think 3. And now the smaller runs are like 4s and 5s oftentimes. So slowly working that up. It's not just like go in raw. You haven't run in like a year and just go rip your fastest like 5K ever. Probably give yourself like a little bit of a ramp up. And because injuries, I think, is one of the biggest pieces that, especially with the idea of side quests, really want to stay injury free because I don't want to take it away from my main quest. If I rip an Achilles, like I'm not going to be able to train, my lower body too good. But, my upper body is going to get pretty big and beefy because I'll be just hitting upper body 5 times a week. And it'd be like that. Currently, already got some injuries. I got like tennis elbow. That's been annoying. And I've learned, which has been cool, with running. It kind of taught me with my recurring knee injury. Just like my knee would always like just give me some issues some days, just wouldn't feel good. It's actually more in the front of my shin. So the muscles in front and to the right of my shin, like right below the knee, it's kind of more of that. So kind of working on the flexibility of like my foot and ankle. And that's actually been kind of helping there. So I'm actually thankful for the side quest, helping me figure out like a long lingering kind of seasonal injury that I've had. Other pieces here, technique, man. So in managing injuries, technique's super important. So that's going to be in the gym, full range of motion training, take your body through full ranges of motion so that you're capable in all ranges. Like if you're only training, these half curls, like right there, then what happens if you're under load and you're like over here and you just haven't trained in this area? There's going to be more injury risk there, especially from an athletic perspective, if you're running and doing stuff. So full range of motion training in the gym, I always recommend. So you're comfortable through the full ranges of motion with your muscles. You have skill there. It's not foreign to you. And so also just managing technique. So in lifting weights and then also managing technique from a running perspective. So that's going to be, I'm running with proper technique. And not just like, doing it super duper incorrectly, like running on your heels and stuff, but learning in that capacity. And I'll say finally, to put a pretty bow on the injury piece and like how to manage injuries or what I'm focusing on. Another thing that's big in the running community that was news to me is running shoes need to be, I guess, rotated. So a lot of shoes, they kind of have a, people are just interesting. Like sometimes I'm not sure if they're serious. Like look over at the Instagram and I'm like, what questions am I getting? I have a question. Can bodybuilding exercise increase the size of my penis? Bicep curls aren't going to do it for you. Penis curls may do it for you. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to hypertrophy your penis, but like, hey man, I don't know. Go for it. Maybe tie a weight, grab a dumbbell, just put it on there. And like, maybe if you drop it and see if like it catches it, like, I don't know. This is not medical advice, but like, hey, I mean, like sacrifice to win, some extra girth. I hear girth is your worth, but like, hey, give it a go. But staying injury free, you got to rotate your shoes, your running shoes. Apparently, they're only good for like 300 miles per shoe. Like you want a good standard base shoe that you'll get. They're good for about, I think, 300-400 miles. And then you want to rotate them because that cushion does actually wear. And that was news to me. And then you have race shoes, which have a shorter lifespan and are more expensive. These can be like $250. These are only like, I think it's like an 80 to 100 mile lifespan. So you got to be smart when it comes to like running shoes that, you got to actually like, all right, these are my base like road running shoes. And then if you do trail running, you probably want trail runners as well. So there's going to be a little bit of a dance when it comes to spending your entire life savings on running shoes. Number 8 is going to be finally controlling volume. We kind of mentioned this already a little bit in terms of staying injury free. It's managing the volume. So you go 10 miles to 20 miles. I'm doing like, I think 30 miles per week right now. 30 miles. And then when it comes to game day, so game day, I'll probably be in that 50-ish range per week. So probably running 50 miles per week. And the reason I put volume in here, in terms of like avoiding muscle loss when doing marathon training, the reason I put that in there because like right now I'm doing 30 miles per week. When I get to the point where I'm doing 50 miles per week, that's just going to be so much more training and recovery on my legs, on my knees, etc. that, maybe I won't have the biggest quads that I've ever had. And I'm going to have to kind of bite that bullet that my legs may be smaller for, a month or two. I'm going to have to bite that bullet to do a lifetime. In my opinion, it's a lifetime achievement for me to, get a marathon and ideally, get a good pace. 3.5 hours would be really cool, but we'll see how it plays out. And so that's okay. It's a short-term bite the bullet, and I can always regain that muscle back. It comes back quick because of muscle memory. So that's kind of my game plan. Those are the 8 things that I am planning to do to make sure that I retain as much muscle as possible for as long as possible. And also, I think number 9 I would put on this is any muscle I do lose in the short term is going to be recaptured when I get back into, consistent training with reduced volume on my legs. And if I recapture that strength, I'm going to be in a good position to recapture that muscle mass. So quick run through. We got number 1, the belief. Don't believe you're going to lose muscle if you start, if you have kids and you're running around with them, like, oh, I'm doing more steps. Of course I'm going to lose strength and muscle. Like, no, believe you can get strong and be healthy and fit. Like football players have done it, like high-level athletes, Olympic wrestlers, etc. You got some fit people with big muscles. Be that fit person with big muscles. 2, don't lose strength. So to avoid losing muscles, just don't lose strength. 3, manage your intensity, protein, calories, sleep, training volume, and then stay injury-free. And those are the things I'm going to focus on while I ramp up miles and to keep my muscle mass.